Good evening, everyone. I'm hoping you can hear me. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. The National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE at UCLA, acknowledges our presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Gabrielino and Tongva peoples. Hello all, I hope you're doing well and staying safe. I'd like to welcome you to the Black Engineering Student Town Hall 6-month update meeting. My name is Imani Elston, and tonight we will be having a discussion between Black engineering students and Dean Murphy and the UCLA Samueli leadership. Thank you all again for being here tonight. Our program will run from 6 to 7 p.m. So first, I will briefly go over some housekeeping items. As you can tell, this is a Zoom webinar. Only panelists will have audio and video capabilities. And at this time, I'd like to ask all panelists to please turn off your camera and microphone until it's your time to speak. I want to also point out that there is a Q&A function in the bottom of your Zoom window. All panelists will be able to see the questions. Questions can be asked anonymously, and we ask that you don't use the chat feature as it's been disabled for attendees. All right, so today's agenda, first we'll be having a brief town hall overview. Then I will turn the floor over to Dean Murphy and the Samueli leadership to give their 6-month updates. Next, we'll have about 20 minutes for an open Q&A based on their presentation. And then lastly, we'll have some closing remarks from our NSBE president and Dean Murphy. I want to take the time to introduce you to all who is on the call as panelists. First is the Samueli leadership team, which includes Dean Jayathi Murphy, and then in alphabetical order, we have Dr. Scott Brandenburg, Director Catherine Douglas, Director Christine Whaley Lee, Director and Dr. Audrey Poole O'Neill, Dr. and Dean Veronica Santos, and Dr. and Dean Richard Wessel. Thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight. Next, also as panelists, is the NSBE at UCLA Executive Board. We have our President, Daniel Ferguson, our Vice President, Michael Buck, myself, I am the Pre-Collegiate Initiative Chair, Simon Hadgu, our Treasurer, Gianna Brown is the Secretary, Itohan Arrow is the Finance Chair, and Kalechi Agwumezi is our Public Relations Chair. And our last group of panelists that are here today are the students that make up the Black Engineering Student Taskforce, Michael Buck, Imani Elston, which is myself, Daniel Ferguson, and we also have Alexander Johnson, Matthew McIntosh, and Ike Okorafor. Thank you all panelists for being here, and we look forward to today's meeting. So before I turn the floor over to Dean Murphy and the Samueli leadership, I wanted to give a brief recap on the Black Students in Engineering Town Hall that we first had last summer on July 31st. In the aftermath of a tumultuous spring and summer in 2020, where we saw many individuals being affected by COVID-19, we also were simultaneously faced with the continued killing of unarmed Black people in the United States. And while it is true that all of the students on this call identify as Samueli engineering students, it is also true that we identify as Black. And when we received notices and emails that the Samueli leadership, as well as the greater UCLA leadership, supported and stood with the Black Lives Matter movement, we had to look around and ask how those statements were being put into tangible actions. One of the biggest questions that we had to ask ourselves is, how do we address the fact that 0.8% of the Samueli community, which includes undergraduate, master's, and doctoral enrollment, identify as Black? The July meeting was productive, and in my opinion, I left the meeting encouraged by the efforts that would be put forth. One such effort was monthly meetings with a subset group of the Black engineering community to discuss the plans and progress of the new efforts being made. And today, 6 months after the initial town hall, we have invited the Samueli leadership that we've met with monthly to directly share with the community what steps and efforts are being taken. I'd like to again thank Dean Murthy and her team for being here tonight. And I'd especially like to commend and thank the students, both the NSBE board members and the Black Engineering Taskforce, who have added this responsibility on top of their roles as students at the #1 public university in the US to be able to speak out and share on behalf of the Black engineering community. I would now like to open the floor to the Samueli leadership to share their updates from the last 6 months. Dean Murthy, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you, Imani, and thank you to all the students who are here tonight. Like Imani said, you've got a lot to do as engineering students. You're already doing so much. And for you all and for the leadership of NSBE to take on all of these extra responsibilities is pretty amazing. And the school is really grateful for everything that you're doing for us. So let me start off. If you can go to the next slide. And maybe, sort of hit the return so you can see all of them. All right. So I want to give you an overview of everything that the school's undertaken these last 6 months. And then I've got individual people who will come and speak to each of these in greater detail. Right. So we made a number of commitments in a campus-wide letter that we sent everybody, and you have a copy of it as well. And I've tried to structure my slides so that they answer to every one of those points that we had committed to in that letter, right? So what have we done in terms of our response to those commitments? On the administrative side, we have established a standing committee on diversity. And Professor Veronica Santos will tell you much more about the constitution of the committee and what that committee is doing. So that's up and running for the most part. We had promised a number of we had made a lot of strong commitments with respect to resources, and those have also been put in place. So for example, I had promised that we would put a $10 million endowment behind CEED, taken from existing endowment commitments. You remember that these commitments are not fully paid yet. They're being paid every year. And I'm glad to report that of the $10 million, $6 million is already in place. And we have met as a committee to talk about what to do with this money, how it should be given out in terms of scholarships and so on with this coming admission cycle. Right now, the rest of the 10 million will be paid as the donor fulfills their commitments. And so a lot of it is already in place. Now, we had also promised to do a lot with respect to fundraising to back some of the efforts that the school is doing here. And one of our alumni, Joanne McGuire, endowed a chair for the mentor professor search. We've got a mentor professor program going on, and if we want to attract really good professors, we're going to have to give them endowed chairs, and we've managed to raise money for one of them. Joanne's a phenomenal alumna of our school. She embodies everything that we would love our students to be, and she's been extraordinarily generous. I'm really grateful for that. The other the other funds that we raised are to support the Math Achievement Program, which Kathy Douglas will tell you about in just a little bit. And this is, we were trying to raise funding for 5 years of a pilot program. And Jean and Mindy Stein, who serve on our executive board, have provided 1.2 million. There's a little bit more money to be raised, and we're working on that, but I'm absolutely delighted and grateful that they are supporting the program. Now, we made commitments to faculty hiring in our letter, and those programs are also up and running. We have a mentor professor program, which you remember is dedicated to hiring professors who are, of course, excellent teachers and excellent researchers, but who have a particular commitment and a track record in mentoring Black and underrepresented students. We've got 3 open positions. In fact, Scott Brandenburg, Professor Brandenburg will tell you more about them and their researches. We hope to be making offers very soon. And there's another faculty search going on. This is called the Rising to the Challenge program, which UBC put in place all across campus. And we have one faculty search going on here, joined with the Bunch Center and with the Luston School of Public Policy in the transportation equity area. So this is looking for people who are working in the area of transportation, but looking at issues of equity, particularly for our underserved communities. So there's a chunk of faculty hiring going on as well. Next slide. Yeah, thank you. We, of course, Imani pointed out that our, representation of Black students in our school is extraordinarily low, and that is absolutely true. And so we have put programs in to try and improve those numbers. Now, Dean Wessel will talk about new freshman admission processes that are underway. And he can give you much more detail on that. You all know that GRE requirements have been relaxed in the different departments. And Kathy Douglas will tell you about a math achievement program that we're developing. That's the one for which Jean and Mindy Stein gave us $1.2 million to develop. And this is a program that's a pipeline program from the high schools in LAUSD to bring students into UCLA engineering. We hope to kick it off this fall if we've got the funding in place, and I do hope that will happen. And many of you are aware of the Awareness to Action program that Audrey Poole O'Neill and her team have been developing. And this is to improve climate for our students. And so these are the programs that I'm really excited about. They're off and running, and hopefully we'll see them fully develop this coming year. Now, in terms of other actions, students had asked for, you all had asked for monthly meetings with the leadership, and we've been doing that. We've been meeting every month and reporting on all of these initiatives. And you had pointed out that the website needed improvement. We've done some work on that. Take a look, and if you've got suggestions, I'd absolutely be willing to go off and talk with you and try and improve that further. Christine Whaley, is our external director, is our executive director for communications, and she will be working with you on that. So these are the high-level actions that we've taken. They correspond to all the commitments that we made in our campus letter. So now let me hand this over to, who's going to go first? Scott, you want to go first and talk about mentor professor? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Jayathi, and thanks, Imani, for inviting me here to talk about this today. So the mentor professor search, let me talk first about what is a mentor professor. It's a question that I've gotten a few times. A mentor professor is just actually a regular faculty member. They're a tenure track faculty member. The difference is that we shift the focus of qualifications a little bit. So we're always looking for faculty who are good at mentorship, but what we're looking for with the mentor professor search is somebody who is really good at mentoring underrepresented students specifically, and also has promise as a researcher and teacher and those sorts of things. But the mentorship bit is really kind of the key thing we've looked at in this case. So the search started last summer. Actually, we started drafting documents, and the ads went out in September. and people started applying for these positions. We decided to put one in each department. So even though we have 3 positions, there were 7 searches. Then on November 1st, we started vetting the candidates who had applied, looking through their resumes. And I should first mention that there's a search committee within each department, and then there's also a school-wide search committee. And the school-wide search committee is involving 1 member from each department search committee plus me as the chair of that committee. So the department search committees began vetting candidates November 1st and formed shortlists. And then interviews of the shortlisted candidates started in January. And so January and February, we've been conducting these interviews. A lot of you as students have been involved in these interviews. So I want to thank all of you for taking the time to meet with these candidates, provide feedback to the departments. I know it's been really valuable to have your perspectives on the candidates, both on their mentorship abilities and also on their research and teaching and vision for what they'll be doing here if we're able to recruit them. That's been great. So thanks a lot to all of you for participating in that. The interviews have now finished, and the school-wide committee is doing its work. So we met today where each department candidate presented their sort of top-ranked candidate from the outcome of their search process. And it's so fresh, I can't say anything really about it at this time to identify individuals or anything like that. What I can say is that we're all really excited by the quality of the candidates. I think in every department's case, they really want to hire more than the number that we have available for sure. So we identified really great people who applied, hundreds of people in some departments, nearly 400 in some searches, and to narrow it down is a really large amount of work. In the slide presented here, I'm showing some of the demographics of the mentor professor shortlist people. So I put 29 here. We actually conducted 30 interviews. So there were 30 shortlisted people, and the demographic makeup of those people is shown here. So you can see that, in total across all departments, 37% of our shortlisted candidates were African American. That's a big increase over a normal search year, kind of a night and day sort of change in that. And then, majority were female, 57% to 43%. And let's see, the numbers, you've probably been browsing through the numbers. I won't read you a table of numbers here because you've had a chance to look at them. So now we're moving on to a phase where our job is to try and recruit the candidates to come to UCLA. And I really hope we'll be successful. I'm really excited by how this process has gone. And I just want to take the time to thank all of the students again for taking the time to meet with our candidates and provide input. I think that's been really valuable, and we should do that for all of our searches moving forward. So thank you for that. And I'm not sure who to popcorn to. Who's the next person here? That would be Professor Santos.
Great. Thank you so much, NSBE, for hosting this. I appreciate this forum for open communication. And I just assumed this role in January, and so I'm helping to build out the infrastructure, beginning with the Standing Committee on Diversity. It's a quite diverse group in itself, featuring undergraduate students, graduate students, a variety of different student organizations. I believe that there's a pathway for voices from a number of underrepresented communities to hear more about what we're doing at the school level, but also have a way to voice concerns directly to the dean's level leadership. I'm also going to be tapping into this membership to help do the recruitment for a lot of the initiatives that we have in mind. If we can move to the next slide. There are going to be 4 diversity subcommittees. And at this time, they're still a work in progress, but I can tell you a little bit about each of them in terms of the high-level goals. The first is undergraduate student recruitment. And so the long-term goal is to improve our outreach efforts to prospective undergraduate students. And I'm not talking about just outreach in terms of getting people interested in STEM, but actually outreach to high school counselors to encourage a more diverse set of applications. As you know, we broke records for the number of applications that we have, so it's been pointed out that it's not a shortage of applications that we have, but the need to increase the diversity in that pool of applications, but also to follow up and ensure that we can successfully recruit students who are admitted so that we can build a more diverse community within our school. Similarly, we want to do that at the graduate student level, and there's a lot of, I think, student to student and faculty to student discussions that will help to increase the number of students from underrepresented populations that we can actually get to come to UCLA. And the third committee is devoted to climate. So once we can successfully recruit these undergraduate and graduate students, we want to make sure that they're happy here. So we need to have an infrastructure to assess and improve the climate within the school. There are a number of things that we can do that we've already been doing. For example, the awareness to action training for both gender and race that Dr. Paul O'Neill and her team at Women in Engineering at UCLA have developed, but also setting up a stronger infrastructure for mentoring and community building and places so that students can feel like they're part of an inclusive environment within our school. And then finally, faculty hiring, which Dr. Brandenburg mentioned. We have a number of searches ongoing. Those types of searches will hopefully continue to be offered in the future. And we would like to have a lot of student involvement in that as well. So I'm very excited about the infrastructure that we're building and the opportunity that we're going to have to improve things. So I'll go ahead and pass this on to the next speaker, Rick.
Hi, let me turn on my camera. Hello there. So, right, so lots of things have changed in admissions, and I think these changes lead to positive impacts for diversity. So first of all, the number of applications has increased dramatically because the tests, the SAT and ACT, are no longer considered at all for admission. Even if someone submits them, the admissions process cannot look at them. And also the subject tests are being eliminated by the College Board. Actually, subject tests did come in during this cycle, but they won't be around next cycle at all. Anyway, the sense is that these changes are probably the driver to a dramatic increase. We have had increases in applicants over the years, sort of a steady increase. And then last year, actually, the applications plateaued. They dropped just a little bit, but they did not increase, which was a change. But the normal increases were like 5%, 7%, maybe 10%. So, but this year, applications are up 27%, from 24,797 last year to 31,388 applications, freshman applications to engineering this year. So what about the diversity of that pool? Well, the diversity improved somewhat along with those larger applications because underrepresented applications increased 36%, so more than 27%. So we saw good growth in underrepresented minority applications to engineering from about 5,800 to now about 7,800. So that's significant. I just want to remind everybody that because of Proposition 209, our admissions process is blind to race. It is not legal for us to set specific quotas for any particular ethnicity that we're trying to reach, nor is it legal for us to explicitly consider race, or someone's underrepresented status as part of the admissions process. Nevertheless, I think that these changes, the change in the pool is promising, and we're hopeful that admissions this year could show an improvement in diversity. And once we have those statistics, I'll convey them on to the diversity task force, and they'll be available probably at the next town hall that we have. We can talk about that. I guess if there's one more minute, I'll just mention that because the test scores are no longer available, of course, our admissions process did have to change. And the change that, the way it changed is that instead of using an engineering score that's computed from test scores and GPA to make sort of the more refined decisions for each major about who we're going to admit, now we had faculty, professors from those majors, and other administrative staff who are very familiar with undergraduate students and want them to succeed, reviewing the applications a second time, in addition to the holistic review. So we replaced sort of a quantitative engineering score with a complete look at the application from an engineering perspective. And actually, I'm pleased to report that this process, which went from not requiring any faculty input to requiring significant time from faculty to look over the applications and provide this input, was very successful. The faculty took it on with zeal, and they did it in a timely manner. And I could tell just from my interactions with the faculty during the training and throughout the process that each reader really took the job seriously to help find the best applicants to go ahead and bring into our school. And of course, the most frustrating thing about the work, as reported by the readers, is that actually, the pool that they're looking at is so strong, it's hard to think of any of these applicants not being admitted. So it's a difficult task, but I was really proud of the work that they did. So that's what I had to say. Thank you. Who should we pass it on to next? Kathy Douglas.
I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for allowing me to provide you with information about the MAP program. So Imani, can you move to the, so the MAP program was designed to address the mathematical deficiencies which prevent underrepresented minority students from succeeding in advanced high school math courses. It's also, we want to close the achievement gap. We want to inform participating students about the contributions of URM individuals in STEM throughout history. And we want to build student confidence in the ability to be successful in STEM fields. Next, please. By providing access to resources with which students have the opportunity to develop problem solving and critical thinking skills, gain exposure to role models at UCLA Samueli, become oriented toward careers in engineering and computer science by connecting the mathematics and problem solving to hands-on projects, and also build parental support by informing and involving parents. To increase the number of URM students who have embraced their STEM identity and are confident in their mathematical ability, are confident that they can apply to and be admitted to UCLA Samueli and other competitive universities, and are enrolled in Samueli engineering. So what does the overview of MAP look like? The curriculum framework is going to be developed in partnership with the California Mathematics Project. We are going to be, for each cohort, there will be 2 weeks of training to develop and update the curriculum annually. And then we want the instructors and TAs to be representative of the participants. Students can't be what they can't see. So the overview of how we're going to do this is we're going to bring students in the 9th grade. In the 9th grade, we're going to concentrate on geometry, 10th grade, algebra 2, 11th grade, pre-calculus, and then in the 12th grade, we're going to concentrate on college admissions and the application preparation. And the schedule will be in the morning, we're doing math instruction, and in the afternoon, we're doing enrichment activities. And those enrichment activities could be hands-on workshops, group projects, lab tours, exposure to the different research that professors are doing on campus, exposure to 3D printing, and then also personal development. We are going to be recruiting participants from schools with students who have met the following criteria. They're low income, they're underrepresented in STEM, they have good performance on the Smarter Balanced test scores, GPA of 3.0 or higher, and recommended by counselors and math teachers. Each admitted cohort would include students from the same school. So we're looking at a small number of schools to recruit 5 to 6 students. And what we want to do is we want to have not only build a cohort of students from the same school, but we want them to be able to support each other in MAP, and then also support each other when they go back to their home schools. The current plan is to recruit from the following middle and high schools with a high percentage of URM students. So we are looking at Audubon Middle School, Bret Hart, Oval Wright, View Park Middle School, and on the high school level, we are looking at Crenshaw High School, Dorsey High School, View Park High School, and Westchester Enriched Science Magnet. So our plan is to pilot the program with 25 students in October of 2021. Currently, I have already met with Kendall Brown at the California Math and told him about my plans. So he's going to be working on the curriculum. And I'm also working with the Office of Strategic Partnerships and Community Engagement, as well as LAUSD, to plan a meeting with school administrators to provide them with information about MAP, and then also get their assistance in recruiting students and also parents. We also plan to host a meeting for parents and students sometime in April to provide them with information about the MAP program. By implementing this MAP program, we already have the MESA program where we work with 22 schools. And so there's a possibility that we could have a student who comes into MESA, then participates in MESA, MAP, and SMASH, and then from there move into the CEED program, and then either after the CEED program participate and continue in grad school or industry. So we're creating this pathway where we could see students starting from the 6th grade all the way up to grad school. So thus far, MAP has, like Dean Murphy has indicated, MAP has received funding from donors Jean and Mindy Stein, who have agreed to fund part of the program. They will be funding the first and second years in full, and they will cover half the cost of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th year. The Dean is currently working to secure the remaining funds to fund MAP for the first 5 years, and he's also working to secure a MAP endowment. Scholars participating in this MAP program will be called the Enrique Ainsworth Scholars. That is it for my spiel about the MAP program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy and Dean Murphy, Dr. Santos, Dr. Brandenburg, and Dean Wessel for your updates. We would now like to begin the Q&A portion of the panel. And so as a reminder to all of those attendees, you can use the Q&A feature to submit any questions. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Simon Hadgu to ask the first question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Simon Hadgu. I'm a 3rd-year civil engineering student here at UCLA, and I am the current treasurer here for NSBE. The first question that we have for the panelists from the chat is, what institutional and dedicated support is provided to the Mentor faculty to ensure successful execution of mentoring duties, teaching load, and research output?
So if I can jump in and answer that, we're still shaping the program, but here's the basic shape of it. Of course, all faculty that we hire get a very substantial startup package for their research, and these faculty will also get exactly the same thing. There have been a lot of questions asked about whether we're going to drown these faculty in service requirements because they are mentor professors. And that's not the intent at all. The intent here is that the service activities that faculty typically take on for these mentor professors would be covered by the roles that they would play mentoring our students. And I don't anticipate that the load on them is going to be any higher than anybody else. I mean, it's going to be exactly the same as everybody else. And so that's the way we're shaping it. Now, there are other things that people need to think about. I think it's not productive and in fact very difficult if all we're going to do is have a faculty member in a department. It's very hard for young faculty to succeed in that kind of setting. And so the intent is really to build a community of scholars and not just in engineering. So my idea is that the mentor professor program will not end this year. We will actually continue to pursue it. But the deans on South Campus are actually talking about a community of scholars that span all of South Campus and actually, support each other and communicate with each other, and perhaps even an institute that might be looking at very complex problems of equity and things like health equity, transportation equity, environmental justice, and so on. So those are very early conversations, but those conversations are going on. So I'm intensely aware that nobody wants to be the only person in the department. It's extremely lonely and it's extremely difficult succeed in that way. So I am thinking quite a lot about how a community and a culture can support the faculty that they hire.
My name is Gianna Brown. I am a second-year bioengineering major and the secretary of NSBE. And the next question is for Kathy. Do you see a future when we can reach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students in math? It's important to capture the math subjects early so that when they get to high school, they're already versed in the core math subjects.
Yes, I do. I know right now, one of the things we're doing, we do have students in Mesa, but we've already started math and science tutoring, but it's more of a drop-in. But yes, I do foresee building up a program where we are addressing math at a lower level.
Thank you.
I think that Simon, our next question is the next person having some issues. So I'll ask the next question. Given COVID-19 and SAT discontinuous, what programs are in place to support high school Black students' admission into engineering aside from those participating in the MAP program?
Is it a question for a particular person?
Anyone can answer it.
Okay, so let me jump in and say that the MAP program is a new program, and we hope that it will actually significantly increase the percentage of Black and underrepresented students in our school. Of course, all the other things that CEED is doing for outreach continue, and I will ask Catherine to jump in and speak to that. And so it's a mixture of things. I mean, there's a broad range of outreach activities that UCLA does that we're a part of, that Kathy and her team do that we're a part of, and then of course there is MAP itself. Kathy, you want to jump in and say a few words?
Yeah, and also as the chair, part of the things I'm going to be doing is as part of the Standing Committee on Diversity, being the chair of undergraduate admissions. That's going to be part of our mission, and that is just increased recruitment on that end too. So we have MAP, but then we're also developing recruitment for under the Standing Committee on Diversity.
Thank you. Our next question for the panel is, will there be outreach to alums to garner their feedback and support?
Yeah, let me jump in and answer that. Yeah, we are in fact doing outreach to alums to garner their support in a variety of ways. I mean, so there are our Engineering Alumni Association, to which I report on the activities that are taking place. In fact, I reported very recently, and they're very supportive, so they know what programs are going on. Our External Affairs group has been fundraising furiously, so they talk to our alums all the time. And I will tell you that there is a lot of interest in the programs that they're putting forward. There's a great deal of feeling that they have a duty to make this work. And there's a lot of support, emotional and otherwise, for the kinds of things that they're doing. I should mention that our Dean's Executive Board consists of alums. And the support that we've garnered for MAP, Jean Stein is an alum of our school and jumped right in to give us support. Our Dean's Corporate Advisory Board, which consists of industries that are connected to the school, are also alums, and some of them, of course, are not alums. And they are, again, very supportive. We've got a bunch of conversations that we're scheduling now to see if we can close the gap in funding for the MAP Achievement Program, as well as other programs that may be in place. So yes, the alums are a big part of the conversation. And I should mention that our Diversity Committee actually has alums in it. Right, Veronica? Let me throw this to Veronica so she can also comment on it.
Actually, thank you. I was going to jump in and mention that we have two very active alumni members, including Coretta Harris, who is an attendee here at this webinar. So thank you for joining. And we have two active alumni on our Standing Committee on Diversity to provide advisory guidance on all of our initiatives. And we will meet on a quarterly basis. We will be meeting this Thursday, in fact. Thank you.
So thank you for that. The next question is also from the chat. How do you ensure the necessary and increased staffing needed to holistically review admissions from a holistic qualitative standpoint rather than a quantitative score-based system?
All right, let me throw that to Dean Wessel, right?
Yes. So, Simon, can you ask the question? So you're asking, how do I guarantee that they're going to read them holistically? Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, sure. How do you plan on ensuring the necessary and increased staffing needed to holistically review admissions from a holistic qualitative standpoint rather than a quantitative score-based system?
Right. So actually, that was the big question going into this year, whether or not we could get faculty to do it, whether faculty would agree to do it and take the time to do it. And I guess I feel like it worked. The faculty did it. And my sense, I mean, actually, so we're still in the middle of it. There's now a post-event sort of data collection process where I'm surveying the faculty to find out how much time did it take, how they feel about the process. So it's too soon for me to say whether or not, oh, we've got this totally handled, or they're never going to do it again and I have a big problem. But my sense, based on the feedback I got from faculty who participated in it, is that it did take time. It was significant, but they also, after going through the process, came away feeling the importance of the work and that it was worth their time. Actually, a considerable number of the reviewers are on our panel here. So, they could speak more, specifically about their experiences. But I guess I can't guarantee it sitting here tonight, but I have a level of optimism. I tend to have a level of optimism about lots of things, but I have a level of optimism that it's going to work out. In fact, I'm much happier now, after we've completed the process than 6 months ago when the test was going away and we did not have a process, and it seemed very unlikely. There were all kinds of issues that came up between then and now, both bureaucratic and logistical, but we did it. So I feel pretty confident that we can continue to do it. So I guess that's probably a long, not very content-filled answer, but there you go.
Our next question is, can one's experience, especially their lived experiences, be considered for admission?
Right, another question for Rick Wessel.
Can one's experiences be considered for admission?
Yes, specifically their lived experiences.
Lived experience. Well, look, here is the situation. It's really simple about what can be considered for admissions. It's what you put in your application. So, that application is read by, but I think I can, we actually have 4 criteria that we ask our faculty to look for. And yes, lived experience. So one word that we use is grit, so here are the 4 things we're looking for. First of all, we're looking for someone who is able to succeed in our programs. And that doesn't mean that they necessarily have to have taken calculus in high school or a bunch of AP classes in high school, because we know we have programs through CEED and through the Transfer Resource Center for students who maybe didn't have the same opportunities, but they have the grit and they're willing to work hard to succeed. So we are, we're looking for people who we think, after reading their application, can succeed in what you guys all know is a difficult program, okay? We're also looking for people who show that they are interested in actually a career in STEM. So, if it comes through in the application that not only can they work hard and take on this difficult material, but that's what they want to do, So, that was sort of like obvious in most engineering applications, but if we happen to get an application where the person, goes out of their way not to ever mention any interest in doing engineering, that's not as strong as an application where someone actually says that this is what, and shows through the things they did in high school that this is what they want to do. Of course, that, again, is through the lens of their experience, okay? So we're not looking for a high school student to be in a robotics club that does not exist in their school. So what it means to show an interest in engineering and STEM is depends on the context, on the environment that they're coming from. Sometimes, the only possible opportunity for that student in STEM was to leave their high school and go to their community college to take the next level of math that their high school didn't even offer. And that can be a really strong signal. Okay, so we're also looking for people who are willing to, create an inclusive environment and create the kind of climate that we want to see. So we're looking for people who have, in their own high schools, kind of taken initiative to help build a better, more inclusive, more diverse community, because that's the kind of thing that we're trying to do here. And we're also looking for people who have, shown leadership and taken control of their own environments. So anyway, so we're looking for those things. And of course, the lived experience can inform those factors that we're looking for. But it does have to, it has to show up in the app. So, if you've had a lived experience, but you don't talk about it in your essays, then we won't know about it and wouldn't be able to include it.
Thank you so much, Dean Wessel, for that thorough response. The next question is for Dean Murphy, and you can pass it on if you'd like. Are there any particular institutions that have served as models for the UCLA Samueli diversity initiatives / climate improvement efforts?
Yeah, so I've been looking pretty hard at two different schools. One I know very well because I worked there for a decade, and that is Purdue University, which has some of the oldest programs to support diversity, and I've been looking at a lot of the stuff that they've been doing. Audrey Poole O'Neill knows them pretty well too. The other institution that's really impressed me is Georgia Tech. And I've been looking very hard at what they've done to recruit students, of course, but more importantly, their faculty efforts have been truly phenomenal. And if you look at their leadership, not just in the School of Engineering, but across the university, it's pretty darn amazing. So I've been looking a lot at both of these programs. We'll continue to talk to people there. I know people in both schools quite well. So there are lots of lessons for us to learn from those. Audrey, you want to jump in and say anything?
Sure, Dean Murphy, thank you. Yeah, I am an engineer today because Purdue University had an outreach program for underrepresented minority students to introduce them to engineering. So after my freshman year of high school, my English teacher in Inkster, Michigan, sent me to Purdue University to this summer program, and it blew my mind about what engineering was. I didn't know, I thought engineers drove a train. So once I realized what was possible, I was all in on engineering, and I appreciate and I support that program to this day. I didn't attend Purdue as an undergraduate student, but I donate to Purdue as if I am an alum because I feel like I'm an alum of that program. The Women in Engineering program at Purdue University is the first women in engineering program founded in the country, and it was founded in 1969. So when Dean Murphy gave me this job, I went to Purdue and spent a week with their Women in Engineering director, associate director, their entire team. And they really showed me everything from how they make their money to how they run their programs and let me engage with their students. And it is a really impressive program. I came from there and started to work on We at UCLA and try to incorporate those things. I'm still in touch with those programs. In fact, they recently put me in touch with someone at the University of Tennessee who is starting a Women in Engineering program. And the Purdue folks said, please reach out to Audrey because she recently started such a program and you guys are in the startup phase. And so I'm anxious to pass on all the things that we've learned. So it's a very collaborative community. I reach out to folks everywhere who can give us advice on how to make things more inclusive. My team and I also attend workshops by WePan and others who talk about diversity and inclusion and climate. And we learn a lot from those and we incorporate that into our awareness to action plan. So we are very involved in working with other campuses to find out what works and try to implement those best practices.
Can I jump in and add one more university to the list? That would be Arizona State University. As part of that, we actually have two of our alumni members on the Samueli Standing Committee on Diversity are both NSBE alumni, remain active in the NSBE Alumni Chapter. And Lisa Cagnalotti actually has an executive and residence position at Arizona State, which we have been looking at in general because of their undergraduate and pre-college outreach programs.
So we have run out of time for questions. Dean Murphy, do you have any last comments?
Yeah, so I want to say, how good it's been talking to all of you. I wish I could actually see all this, this whole Zoom thing doesn't quite do it for me. But I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to report out on what we've been doing. I hope you can see that we've at least started a number of things, certainly along the lines of what we had promised in our commitments we made last summer. There's a lot of work to be done. There's no complacency here. And so we're going to get going. We're going to work hard. And I hope we can report much more progress to you in about 6 months again. Thank you all for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Ferguson, and I'm a fourth-year student in electrical engineering, and I'm the current president of NSBE at UCLA. And I just want to thank Dean Murthy for all the work that you, as well as the rest of the Samueli administration team, have been doing. We really appreciate your dedication to working on this issue, as we all know that it's something that is really important, and we really need to keep working on it. I also want to thank everyone else on the panel, some of the staff from we at UCLA, and also the NSBE board members. We definitely couldn't do this without all of y'all, so thank you for taking the time. And then I also want to thank all the attendees. I know people have really busy schedules, especially for the students right now, so thank you for coming out. For the students, keep it up, I guess, keep working at things. Let us know, me personally or anyone on the NSBE board, if there's any issues you are facing. We will work to try to get it solved. So I just want to let everyone know that we are here with you and we are here for you. So don't be afraid to come to us with anything that you're going through. And besides that, thank you all for coming. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of the quarter.